we're going to do the lesson now. It's in the middle, before the music, before the words. All right. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Amen.
I'm glad for each and every one of the mothers and all the women that are here. And women are a blessing from
Women are a
God,
blessing.
right?
Amen.
Thank you for God. You're telling us, Sheila.
Men don't realize it, but we are. Well,
Oh, you need to.
they usually do whenever they need something.
Yeah, so we need something. We need something.
How about that?
Okay, let's get going or I'll get in trouble.
We need something.
I don't want to get in trouble. Probably. Probably. But someone, Derek wanted me to make sure I did was it you or somebody else wanted me to do a Mother's Day message? I don't usually pay.
I don't remember saying anything about that to
You
you.
did it. You
But
said
anyway,
yeah, he did
no,
it.
it was someone else. Someone else. Because it was before today. I don't normally do much of the holiday messages. It just doesn't fit in with what I usually do. But I thought I would do something for Mother's Day and remembrance of Bobbie. You know, at the funeral, we had the cards, and on the back was her life verse. How that she wanted to be a virtuous woman. That was her goal. Another one of her favorite scriptures was Ruth. All right? So we're going to talk about Ruth a little bit. That was kind of her hero, Ruth. As a matter of fact, she read part of Ruth at our wedding. She incorporated verse 16 in with our wedding vows. I did verse 17 at her interment. But anyway, let's get into it.
David, what is an internment?
What's that?
What's an internment? What's an internment?
A burial.
A burial. That's bad.
And so, does anybody want to read? One person? Okay. You want to do it? Okay. Sheila, I didn't see your hand. I saw Sheila. You can read Deuteronomy. Ruth is the main one. Instead of swapping on that, we'll just do that every one.
Okay, so Deuteronomy
Okay,
23.
wait a second, please. All right. I didn't bring one of the books out, but what we've been praying for this month is, Daddy God, help me to see the treasure of your word. All right. So Sheila, start us off.
Deuteronomy 23:3. Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to the 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever.
Ruth 1:14-17. Then they lifted up their voice and wept again, and up and kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people. As to her gods, return after your sister. But Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave you, or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. Whenever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and the Lord also, if anything but death parts you and me.
All right. Okay. So this is the story of Ruth. What it was Naomi and her husband and her 2 sons left Israel and went to the country of Moab. And there her 2 sons married 2 Moab women. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that quite right. And so the husband died, and then the 2 sons died. and they never did have any kids. And so there began to be a famine in Moab. And Naomi said, well, I'm going to go back to Israel. And she changed her name at that time, but I won't get into it. Because it was a very sad thing. She said that she went out full and came back empty. You can imagine that. She lost her husband, she lost her 2 sons, and she lost one daughter-in-law. So one daughter-in-law stayed with her, and that was Ruth. But Ruth was of what nationality? Nope, Moab.
That is a religion.
Moab. She was a descendant from Moab. And so she was going to a strange place. And that's where she says, wherever you go, I will go. Because Naomi realized that she didn't have any hope to give these girls. And she said, if I was to have a son tonight, would you wait till he got old enough to take you as a husband? That's the way they did it in those days. And so she said, no, I will not do this to you. You go back home. You're young. You can find somebody. And so they went back home, and or one of them did. But Ruth refused to leave her mother-in-law. And that's where she said, wherever you go, I will go. And your God will be my God. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you go, I will go. And she clung to her mother-in-law. Was that a devotion?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Bobbie liked about Ruth. Ruth clung to it. And it would be like someone leaving a Jehovah's Witness and becoming a Christian. It's not easy, is it? Because she left her religious beliefs behind, and she was willing to pick up Israel and the true God. And so she went with Naomi to Israel. And then she had to learn new customs. No more pork chops. No more bacon.
No pork chops, no more bacon.
What?
No more sausage. Sausage.
Sausage. No more cheeseburgers, too.
I like cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
Don't take my burgers away from me.
No more McDoubles, no more McDoubles.
You can't boil,
Yes, no more McDoubles.
you
No more Five
cannot
Guys.
cook
Give me Five Guys.
a cat, you can't, anyway.
You can't cook a cat. You can cook cat food. Cat.
Under the Old Testament. Don't mix dairy and meat.
Chinese food.
Okay, and so Ruth was clinging to her mother-in-law. We don't have time to read all of it, but Ruth stayed with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and she was very faithful to that. And that's what God had put in Bobbie's life, is to be faithful to your commitment. You need to become, if you make a commitment with somebody, you need to be faithful about it. And are you faithful to that commitment? God wants you to do that. And what I wanted to encourage you, and this might end up being a very short message, but a short message is okay, I guess, is you need to have a biblical hero that you look up to. There's somebody that you need to look to. One of the ones for me is David, King David in the Bible. Because when I was little, I probably had ADD or ADHD or whatever. And I couldn't keep my mind on anything. And so I wouldn't listen to the message. I would be thinking about this, thinking about that. And then the pastor or the minister would say, And David said, I would turn around to see what I said.
Okay.
So I paid attention to David. And one of the things that David did is there was a time that they had been robbed. They had their wives, their children stolen from them, and all their property and the houses burned to the ground. And David's men that was with him, what did they say? They were blaming David for it
God's trying to do
and
it.
was going to stone him.
Stone David.
They were going to stone David to death because they lost their, what? Did David do it?
No, he didn't
No.
do anything.
They had all been out and they came back and it was all done. But they took it out on David.
Why am I doing
What did David do?
that?
I should have had this for you. But David encouraged himself in the Lord. There are times you have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That's the way I like to put it. You just got to encourage yourself in the Lord. It doesn't look right. It's not going right. We've all been in situations like that. So that's been one of the things when things didn't go right with me. Oftentimes I would think about that. How David encouraged himself in the Lord. And God, I think, really wants us to identify with a biblical character. You need to find some biblical characters that you identify with, but not Lot's wife.
That he done.
Not her, okay? So you need to identify with a good person. Ruth, she was a Moab, going back to Deuteronomy. Were they accepted among Israel?
No.
Moses said they could never accept a Moab, someone from Moab, it's until the 10th generation. Children, grandkids, that's 2. Great-grandkids, that's 3. You got to go all the way to 10 before they can be accepted. That's a long time, isn't it? So was Ruth accepted?
No.
Absolutely, she sure was.
Eventually.
Oh yeah, she was accepted. As there's times in the scriptures that are little strange things, and this is one of them. And but Ruth was accepted, and more than that, do you know who her great-great-grandson is, or great-great-great-grandson is? Anybody want to take a guess? Jesus. Jesus was born with Moab blood in him. He was a descendant of Moab, or Lot, from Moab. He descended from that. But yet they were not. So thank you, Bob. But they did not accept that. Isn't that unique? Here is a person that wasn't supposed to be accepted, but because of her faithfulness to God and her determination to serve God of Israel, the God of Abraham. She was determined to serve him and him only, no one else. Because of her determination, she was accepted. And not only that, she was blessed with the ability of knowing that her descendant was the Messiah, the chosen one, the one that came to save us. Isn't that an amazing story?
Mm-hmm.
She should not have been accepted, but because of her determination and her faithfulness to her mother-in-law and also to the God of Israel, she was accepted into Israel. And not only that, she became the ancestor of Jesus Christ, our Lord. And so, if you will make a determination to obey God and do what God commands you to do, then you will be accepted. Then you will have a lineage somehow that will bring about great reward. There will be somebody that you can influence that will create a great memory. Not even, it doesn't have to be your own child. It can be someone else. You can be a great influence to someone else. But God wants you to have that determination to be faithful to God. And in that determination, that's the door that opens up the blessing. That's the door that will open the blessing. Because we need to be determined to serve God. And there's challenges we all go through, right? We will all go through a challenge. My challenges are not the same as yours. And we need to have a determination to be faithful to God in those challenges. There are times that things don't work out the way you want them to. But we have to be faithful to God. When we're faithful to God, in Bob's situation, he had a lot of discomfort. But he had a dream that was to him a message of God's to him to do a task. And he was faithful. He was determined to do that, regardless how much it hurt. And he didn't feel like doing it. Okay. But determination brought a reward. When we have a determination to be faithful to God, it brings a reward. How many want a reward? Yeah. I didn't think of this, but this would be a good verse. Peter, Jesus, there were some of the disciples that left Jesus. And Jesus turned to his 12 disciples and said, will you also go? And Peter said, where can we go?
Where can we go?
You have the words of life. And he said, I think it was there, but it was said, I'm not quite sure if that's at the point. But Jesus said, he who has left mother, brother, or sister for the kingdom's sake shall inherit more in this life and also in the life to come. When you are determined to do what God wants you to do, you will inherit more. It's not really a sacrifice because you will inherit more. Did Job end up being a poor person?
No.
No, not at all. Job wasn't a poor person. He ended up being very wealthy again. As a matter of fact, twice as wealthy. With a lot more kids. What? But that was Bobbie's comment already. She said, I don't want that blessing. I got one, that's what I wanted. And but when you have left things behind, for God's sake, that's the question. Are you doing this for God? And regardless what everybody else does, you're going forward with God. Jesus says, in this life you will be blessed, and in the life to come, eternal life. There's a great blessing coming to you. You need to find a biblical character you can identify with.
Jesus.
And read all you can about that person. God is calling you to that. Can you do it?
I like Samson because it was great.
All right. You don't know my boy Samson, then, do you? Samson, what did they always say to Samson?
You're a giant.
What's the secret of your strength? Because if you looked at Samson, he didn't look strong. His strength was a supernatural strength that came upon him. Because when he cut his hair, he broke his covenant. And by breaking the covenant, he lost all his strength. So he was just like any other man. But as long as he was in covenant with God, and that's the good part about Samson. As long as he was in covenant with God, he had a supernatural strength. And, so pictures of Samson being strong and muscular is not correct.
Pharaoh was his
I
covenant.
don't know if you asked me.
Pharaoh.
He still had the powers.
Yeah, but it was by the Spirit.
Not by the Holy Spirit, yeah.
Because people have done supernatural things, like at a car accident, they had lifted things that
Yeah, look at
they
it.
go
Was a
back and
present.
they couldn't do it. That's supernatural. It does come upon people.
The present.
But Samson was the strongest man that ever lived. And that blessing of Samson was there because of the Spirit. Supernatural. I like supernatural things.
I had to be strong through a lot of areas of my life. And I'll tell you, it was tough, but the Lord got me through.
Very good. All right, so you need to ask God to help you find a picture. Does anybody want prayer?
I would pray.